Today we're going to talk about data distribution. The other day we talked about collecting data. We had categorical data, numerical data, and now we need to do something with that data. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is displaying data. So data can be displayed in various graphs, including dot plots, histograms, and box plots. So this first word is going to be displayed. Dot plots are useful for showing center, so center of our data, and variance. So variance would be, again, how does our data vary? Next, we're going to be looking at the spread of our data. The variability or spread in the data points describes how far apart the data is from one another. This also can be represented by the range. Then we're going to be looking at the center of our data. The median and the mean both represent the center of the data. When the data is skewed, then the median best represents the data. Put median there. When the data is symmetric, then the mean is the best representation for our data. Okay, so let's take a look at what it means by shape. Symmetric, okay, is when something's symmetrical, both sides are the same. And you can kind of see that. Here's my middle here, okay, and then it goes up and then down, okay, and each side is similar. Skewed to the right means we have data pulling it over to the right. So if I'm looking here, the right has like a little tail. So that means skewed right. Skewed left, again, our data is the opposite. We have a tail and it's being pulled over to the left. So that's what we're calling skewed left. So let's use the dot plot to answer the questions below. At a doctor's office, the pulse of each patient was taken and recorded. The data is displayed in the dot plot below. Okay, notice, okay, we have it labeled underneath and it goes, so let's see. What is the lowest pulse? Well, the lowest pulse is down here at the end, on the left end, and that would be 64. What is the highest pulse? All the way at the other end, and that would be 80. What is the most common heart rate? So which one has the most? Each dot, okay, is a different heart rate. So 2 people had 64 because there's 2 dots. 2 people had 66. So the one with the most would be 70. How many people had a pulse over 76? Okay, so over 76, that would be this person here. So only one person had a pulse over 76. How would you describe the general spread of the data? Remember, is it symmetric? Is it pulled right, skewed right, or is it skewed left? So if I look at this, okay, and kind of make here, okay, kind of looks like a nice little mountain or a curve. Okay, so I would say that it's symmetric. Symmetrical. Okay, and 70 is the most common. All right, take a moment to review that page and we'll go on to the next one. All right, oops, what happened there? Let's take a look at question number 2. Analyze the data distribution in the dot plots below. Then complete the chart with your findings. Remember, as we go along, you can pause the video if you need to catch up with your writing. So the first question is, let's go right down with dot plot A. Okay, where is most of the data located? Okay, I would say in this case, most of the data, if I'm looking at this, is right over here. So between 1 and 2. So let's write that, 1 to 2. Okay, let's go right down and stick with dot plot A. How spread out is the data? Well, my lowest is 0 and my highest is 6. So that's not very spread out. So we're going to write very close within 6. All right, the next question asks, is the data grouped around the left, the middle, or the right? Well, again, as we looked, we said it was between 1 and 2, okay, which is over here. Most of my data is over to the left. And finally, what could this data represent? Well, it could be a lot of different things. It could be how many pets you have in your house, okay, how many devices, iPads, things like that are in your home. Okay, so the answers will vary on that last question. Let's take a look at dot plot B. Where is most of the data located? Well, this one's not as clustered together. Okay, this one kind of had a little bit here and a little bit there. So I guess we would say, where is most of the data? I would say on number 20. Okay, but it really is spread out. Okay, it's not clustered together. Okay, how spread out is the data? Well, our lowest is 10 and our highest is 26. So we go from 10 to 26. Okay, more of a range than the other. The other was from 0 to 6. All right, is the data grouped around the left, the middle, or the right? Okay, it really isn't grouped. 20 is somewhere in the center. Okay, but I would say it's kind of more spread out in this case. So it's not really grouped. Maybe you might want to say 17 to 20, but it's really not grouped. Okay, what could this data represent? Maybe the points scored in a certain game by students. All right, let's take a look now. Analyze the shape and distribution in the histograms below. Then answer the questions. Well, we have two different histograms. We have basketball points. Okay, and we could see that the bottom represents the number of points scored and frequency. And we have the height of pediatric patients, the height of inches and the number of patients. Okay, realize though, as we're looking at these histograms, take a look at the bottom here. Okay, it's grouped 0 to 9. Okay, we're not just saying 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 in each of the columns. There's groupings here. And if we look over at the height of our pediatric patients, this bin, okay, represents from, okay, 30 to 35. Okay, and then you have your next bin. So we're not just talking individual numbers here. So let's take a look at what this question is asking. The histogram showing the number of points scored in a game has what type of distribution? Where can most of the data be found? So we're talking about, okay, is it symmetrical? Is it skewed left or is it skewed right? Right, well, it's not symmetrical because if I take this and go down, okay, we have that tail. All right, remember that tail is on the right-hand side. So this, okay, is skewed right. Okay, that means all of your data is on the left-hand side, but you got some data pulling it over to the right. So we're going to say the majority of the data is on the left from 0 to 19. Okay, but it is skewed right. All right, so the majority of the data is on the left, but some data is pulling that over to the right. Now, let's look at the histogram showing the number of points scored in a game has what type of distribution? Where is most of the data? So if I look at this, most of my data is over here, okay, on this right-hand side. Okay, and then I pull it down and you notice now there's a tail over to the left-hand side. So the majority of the data is on the right, okay, but there's some data pulling it over to the left. So it's skewed left. So again, what you're going to write is the majority of the data is on the right, but some of the data is pulling it to the left. All right, so take a look at your notes again as you move on to the independent practice page.